This is your WXCO Daily News Roundup for Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM in Wausau.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz campaign in Wisconsin today. The Democratic ticket made its debut last night in Philadelphia.
We are the underdogs in this race, but we have the momentum, and I know exactly what we are up against.
Many in today's audience in Eau Claire are already familiar with Democratic vice presidential running mate Tim Walz. He's the governor of Minnesota, after all. Walz told a Philadelphia crowd last night his former high school students inspired him.
They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference.
Republican running mate J.D. Vance will also speak in Eau Claire. Stay with Civic Media for live coverage. The former warden at the Waupun State Prison is pleading not guilty to charges at an inmate's death. Randall Hepp is charged with felony misconduct in office. The inmate died in his cell of dehydration. It was one of 5 deaths at Waupun in the last 13 months. 4 hotel security guards are now charged with felony murder in the death of a Milwaukee man in June. The medical examiner says Devontae Mitchell died of what's called restraint asphyxia. Mitchell's family's been calling for charges for more than a month. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the Justice Department is fighting violent crime in Wisconsin, arresting felons, and preventing violent drug trafficking. In Milwaukee yesterday, Garland pointed out the nation's violent crime rate is one of the lowest in 50 years. A bipartisan group is trying to bust stubborn myths eroding public trust in elections. Former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes is one of the members of the Democracy Defense Project. He says social media is exacerbating the problem.
It's so easy for bad information to flow, and I think that 2020 there was everything that helped that helped that wildfire just spread.
The group polled voters on policies to help improve people's confidence in elections, although many of them are already being used. Wisconsin has its first LGBTQ historical landmark. It honors Josie Carter, a black transgender woman who defended the Black Knight Tavern in Milwaukee during an outbreak of violence in 1961. The Wisconsin Historical Society plans up to 30 new markers telling the stories of underrepresented communities across the state. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WXCO News, I'm Brittany Merlot. Wausau's mayor proposes a way for the county to save money on its parks. Doug Dinney believes that Marathon County is overspending when it comes to the way the Parks Department is managed. Last week, Dinney proposed a zero-balanced budget and to make major changes, including cutting the budget. It's a move that caught the committee by surprise, because a zero-balanced budget plan means that if the city were given a monthly income, they would spend no more than that amount. However, the mayor didn't give specifics on the numbers, leaving the city council with a ton of questions. Right now, the city spends $3.5 million on parks and funds. The council says it wants to see more research and data analysis, and nothing was decided at the meeting. Doug Dinney says, "I'm guessing that by now most of you have noticed that I couldn't propose putting a gumball machine in the city hall lobby without half of the city council decrying it as the end of civilization and demanding a detailed, feasible study." There's an emergency blood shortage in the nation. Summer heat impacted blood drives in nearly every state. The American Red Cross has issued an emergency notice of low blood supply. We have several drives happening in Wausau this month. And it's make or break. The time is now to adjust sleep schedules for back to school. Doctors know that kids like to stay up later and sometimes sleep in during the summer, especially with the later sunsets. However, if you don't start at least gradually changing those habits by mid-August, they say it can be a rude awakening when the alarm goes off for school. He said light is one of the main things that impacts your sleep-wake pattern. And sleep helps us form our memories and helps us do emotional regulation. It helps the front part of our brain, which is important for what we call executive function. The amount of sleep children need varies based on their age. A 3-year-old needs about 12 hours, and a 10-year-old needs about 10 hours. That number decreases as they get older. Human trafficking is considered to be one of the most underreported crimes in America, but it's happening everywhere. And experts say that Wisconsin needs to do better at providing services for survivors.
Human trafficking is reported in all 72 counties in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, Wisconsin has a big F in our state response to the issue of human trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Awareness, education, and willingness to be someone's safe place can save lives. And a new era is beginning at DC Everest under head coach Braden Mitchell. Yesterday marked the first day of football practice. Mitchell was promoted after serving as an offensive assistant last year. Now, in charge of the entire unit, he's eager to get the ball rolling. Mitchell inherits a team that clinched the playoff spot in 2023. Everest kicks off against Rice Lake, the reigning D3 state champs, on Thursday, August 22nd at 7 p.m. Bikers for Boobies fundraiser returns to central Wisconsin. Saturday, August 17th, bikes start at the Mill Yard in Wausau. Registration is at 9 a.m. and riders will go to several stops, ending at Jack's Daybreak Bar and Grill. There are a number of raffle prizes, including a Packers football signed by Jordan Love. All proceeds go to Aspirus Health Foundation's Breast Health Assistance Funds. And for the first time since the pandemic, the old Country and Rock USA grounds will be bursting with activity when X Roads 41 opens. Manager John Gorley.
The name was not accidental. The idea of Crossroads is to do a mix of music. We think people are ready to see bands that are mixed genre, so to speak. One of our other reputation pieces in the festival world is picking bands right before they explode.
This year's headliners are Old Dominion, Brooks & Dunn, and Journey. That's what you need to know. I'm Brittany Merlot for WXCO.
The Brewers take a stand in Atlanta. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Brewers, after a poor performance over the weekend in Washington, dominated the Braves in Atlanta. The final score 10-0, led by Willie Adames, who had not one but 2 home runs to get things started on Bally Sports Wisconsin.
And a fly ball to center again. Sends Kelnick back. And Adames again leaves the yard. A pair of 2-run homers for Willie Adames. Number 19 for the Brewers, number 5 hitter tonight.
2 at-bats into the game for Willie Adames. He's got 2 home runs and 4 RBIs.
Colin Ray pitching 7 scoreless innings. NFL training camp, the Packers' Matt LaFleur has decided to play his starters when they head to Cleveland to face the Browns. The kickoff is Saturday afternoon at 3:25. The Wisconsin Badgers camp continues in Platteville, Wisconsin, where defensive coordinator Mike Tressel admits they need more depth on the Badgers' defensive line.
I don't think it's any shock that defensive line, interior defensive line in particular, we needed to keep growing in terms of depth. That's a position that absolutely needs to be fresh every single snap because there's nothing else like it in sports where 700 pounds are just lining up to hit you in the mouth every single play. And if you even relax, you look foolish.
That's the Badgers coach Mike Tressel. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Remember when streaming was new and affordable? Those days are long gone. It seems like every time you get a bill, the prices are going up. Disney Plus will raise prices by $2 for its ad-free and ad-supported platforms. Hulu will raise its ad tier by $2 a month, and its free platform $1 a month. ESPN Plus will go up $1 a month. All the price increases will go into effect August 17th. Might be time to start reading again. TMZ has reported its share of celebrity lovers' quarrels. The latest is between MMA fighter Conor McGregor and former President Donald Trump. The former president said in a recent interview his favorite MMA fighter was Habib, thankfully pronounced just how it sounds, Nurmagomedov, which hurt McGregor's feelings. McGregor lashed out and said he no longer supports Trump and that he's only worth a couple $100 million and not even a billionaire. Dana White has not weighed in yet on the controversy, which is most likely confusing many monosexuals, also known as MMA fans. Both Timothy Chalamet and Bob Dylan have their share of fans, but if the fan bases cross paths, then the following news is a really big win. Variety reports that the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, in which Chalamet stars, has just been given a release date. The film is set in New York City, where a 19-year-old Dylan arrives in Greenwich Village before taking the folk world by storm. A Complete Unknown will hit theaters December 25th. Yep, that's Christmas Day, and it will have to compete for box office dollars with Nosferatu. Went to one of the thousands of Skarsgårds. Kevin Costner's Horizon, an American Saga Part 2, will premiere at the 2024 Venice Film Festival, just a few weeks after it was announced that the film's theatrical release was pulled. Usually studios and filmmakers use festivals to build momentum toward a theatrical release, but this project is going in reverse. Horizon Part 2 comes in just under 3 hours. Hopefully there will be time left over at the Venice Film Festival to screen other films. Ben Affleck cannot seem to get decent press lately. TV host Sarah Ferguson recently slammed the actor as one of her worst interviews ever after discussing the film Air, in which Affleck plays Phil Knight. Ferguson told the Sydney Morning Herald that Affleck appeared disinterested and rude throughout their chat, which took place last year. Affleck defended himself a few weeks later on Jimmy Kimmel Live, saying that is just what his face looks like, and that is how God made him. Yeah, but
you're an actor. Pal Matt Damon doesn't seem to care that Affleck doesn't smile much because making movies with Ben and brother Casey is a breeze. Damon says they are like his brothers and egos are put aside when they collaborate, which Damon and Casey did on the new film The Instigators, a crime thriller available to stream August 9th on Apple TV. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Partly cloudy today, up to 76 for a high this afternoon. The wind out of the south at 5 to 15. Tonight, isolated showers, otherwise partly cloudy, 57. Tomorrow, clouds in the morning, an isolated thunderstorm possible with a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Currently, it is 60.
That's your WXCO Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at bullfallsradio.com.